How exactly are empires of deception built? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a really powerful, symbolic text that brilliantly breaks down how political lies are spun and how the masses are essentially put to sleep. We're going to explore this story together, unpacking the complex, often hidden dynamics between the ruler and the ruled, all through the lens of this deep source material.
The text kicks things off by stating that true politics shouldn't aim for anything other than, and I quote, shaking off the scattered dust from the shoulders of the people. Just picture that for a second. It's such an evocative metaphor. That accumulated dust, it's the literal weight of their suffering. It represents the neglect, the years of marginalization piling up like dirt on a tired body. The whole point of this narrative is to wake up an exhausted populace and brush off that thick layer of deception that's been weighing them down for so long.
Section 1. The Essence of Politics and the Illusion of the Individual.
The source presents a really fundamental comparison here. At its core, real politics is supposed to be a pure expression of the collective interests of society, right? Serving the national, social, and economic needs of everyone. But the author reveals how autocracies hijack this. They take this complex system and shrink it down until it serves just one single individual. It even gets to the point where they practically sanctify that ruler. It's essentially the complete kidnapping of what politics is supposed to mean.
So, the author argues that you literally cannot govern a human society with a system that completely ignores them. It just doesn't work. The modern mindset dictates that a state absolutely has to rest on the shoulders of its citizens, not on the control of one individual, not on the dominance of a single tribe, and not on a minority ruling class. According to the text, anything else is just a blatant distortion of what a state actually is. Section 2. The Structures of Hypocrisy and the Lies of the Regimes.
Now, the author coins a truly brilliant, albeit harsh, concept here: structures of hypocrisy. The text uses this heavy metaphor to describe oppressive systems that sit like a dark nightmare in the hearts of the masses. And the really painful irony? They do this while hiding behind fake slogans, claiming they're serving national interests. It's institutionalized hypocrisy, plain and simple, claiming to serve the exact people they are actively crushing and marginalizing.
Here, we clearly see this stark us versus them dynamic at play. The rulers spoon-feed the public these shiny, empty slogans about justice and democracy. But the reality? Zero accountability. You have absolutely no say in how or when these things are applied. In a really biting description, the text points out that these regimes just place guards on the walls of what it calls the Arab enclosure, basically keeping the people trapped inside like cattle, completely stripped of any real rights.
Section 3. Politics is a fire without smoke.
Politics is a fire without smoke. It's such a tragic, profound way to describe authoritarian politics. Think about it. It's an invisible fire. It burns, it consumes everything in its path, but it doesn't produce any smoke to warn you of the danger or show you where the fire even is. It perfectly captures the silent, agonizing, and continuous suffering of a people suffocating under the weight of oppression. This fire is just constantly burning. It drains everyone's energy, but there's never any sign of success, and there's no clear end that signals its failure either. Why? Because the political system has completely gone off the rails, turning into a tool of perpetual exhaustion. It leaves the people trapped in an endless, agonizing state of tension that just never resolves.
Section 4. The People's Slumber and the Responsibility of Awareness.
The text asks a really shocking, rhetorical question here. When do the people decide to fake political blindness? The author observes that a huge chunk of the public basically pretends not to understand what's going on. They claim ignorance about political speeches, party programs, the regime's policies, strategic projects. They even act like they don't grasp the concept of dictatorship or their own constitution. It's as if they are suddenly colorblind to the reality right in front of their eyes.
But here is the absolute turning point of the argument. The author flat out refuses to give the public a pass for this. He sternly warns that the people are not excused. You simply cannot feign ignorance when policies are being forced onto you without your consent, especially if you never demanded an explanation or held anyone accountable. The takeaway here is brutal but necessary. Apathy is not a shield. In this context, apathy is direct complicity.
And finally, Section 5. Sacrifice and Reclaiming Destiny.
The text makes it crystal clear that the path to salvation is definitely not paved with roses. It's a tough process. It starts with diagnosis and awareness, waking up to the reality. Then comes demanding your rights and holding the rulers accountable. But
And this is absolutely crucial. Just demanding things isn't enough. The author insists that we have to move to the hardest step: fruitful struggle and real sacrifice. That is the only way to shatter those structures of hypocrisy we talked about earlier.
Ultimately, the big takeaway is that relying on the regime, or just waiting around hoping the ruler will magically change their ways, well, that's a fatal illusion. The text tells us that the people only become truly free and are only truly excused when they realize without a doubt that their destiny hangs entirely in their own hands. No one else is coming to save them.
We're going to leave you with this final, provocative question drawn straight from the heart of the text. When will the people realize their destiny hangs in their own hands? When do we realize that change isn't something that's gifted to us, but something we have to take? The cost of this political slumber is so much higher than the cost of finally shaking off that scattered dust from our shoulders. Really chew on that for a bit. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.